Hello, everybody. How are you? I know, I have been really bad, but I'm here today to firstly apologize for not loading new videos in such a long time. I've had to focus on work and a lot of other different things of late, but I'm here today with hopefully what you are going to find to be a great video and a video worth waiting for, and really going to try and be more consistent going forward. But Casey Compliance, the firm, is keeping me busy, but I am still very much committed to this YouTube channel. So with that said, today we are covering a very important topic based on what I feel is a misunderstanding that is out there. And the topic of today's video is there is more to compliance than AML. Okay. I'm going to jump straight through. Thank you to all the new subscribers, for the people who've been sharing and liking and commenting on the video. I really appreciate you and your patience. But yes, I hope this video is going to be worth your while and worth waiting for. So let's jump straight into what I want to talk to you about today. So I get a lot of questions, comments both on this channel as well as on my LinkedIn profile. And if you don't follow me on LinkedIn, if you are on LinkedIn, you should check out and connect. You can find me under Kutsai Chaka, just my name, simple, and Casey Compliance is at Casey Compliance. But I digress. I get a lot of questions on those various platforms where people are talking about, I'm in the compliance space. How do I really get great? But the focus and sometimes the misunderstanding that I feel people have is around the fact that in the conversation, in the chat, you can see that when someone is thinking compliance, they are thinking strictly about AML compliance. And I just think it's important to set the scene to help you guys understand that AML compliance is an important part of compliance, but it is exactly that, a part. It is not the be-all and end-all of compliance. There's so many other diverse, subject matter that fall under the umbrella of compliance. So that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. So yes, I've said it, AML compliance is important. Anti-money laundering applies to financial institutions, estate agents, lawyers, and obviously it's extremely topical globally. But there are other subject matter that you as compliance officers or aspiring compliance officers have to get to grips with as well if you want to excel and fully understand the world of regulatory compliance. So regulatory compliance, the word is self-explanatory, or the phrase is self-explanatory, really speaks to regulations as a whole. And an organization has got multiple laws and regulations that apply to it by virtue of the activities and business that it does above and beyond AML compliance. So let's put it in simple terms. You want to start a company. What is the first thing that you're going to do? You're going to register your organization with whatever your company registration authority is in your jurisdiction. And already that very act of registering a company for you to operate as a business is going to trigger a lot of regulation that you need to comply with from a company law perspective. You need to have your directors, how is it that you interact with and protect the interests of your shareholders and investors. You need to have a company secretary. What are the rights and obligations of and duties of a board of directors? What sort of financial reporting do you need to do? How often? And then again, is it a private company or is it going to be a listed company on any particular stock exchange? And if it's a listed company on the stock exchange, they are the stock exchange listing rules that need to be complied with in terms of publishing your financial statements and thereafter. So already just the act of registering a company triggers so many compliance requirements that as a compliance officer, you need to make sure that the company is complying with. So you need to have line of sight into that. Your company secretary will work with you on a lot of these different things, but you need to make sure that whatever reporting is happening needs to happen. Is it accurate? Does everyone understand the universe that, around corporate governance that is going to apply to your entity or the business? So already we haven't even talked about products and services and, all this other stuff, but you've already triggered a whole lot of laws that you need to comply with. So that's the company side of things. Then tax. You're an operating entity, you're generating revenue and making profits and all of that. There are tax obligations that get triggered by that, because as a legal entity, you have to pay tax just like everybody else. Individuals have to pay individual income tax. Corporates have to pay corporate tax. So tax laws get triggered. You are an employing entity. You're going to hire staff, whether it's at your executive level, your middle management level, your junior level, administrative staff, whoever it is, as long as they're employed by your organization to help you execute the business, you're going to have triggering of labor law requirements and employment codes and all of the rest of that stuff. In South Africa, we've got Black economic empowerment, and in a lot of countries, they've got, similar provisions in Africa. So that might get triggered in terms of who you can and cannot employ, expatriates, who are coming in to work for your organization. So already, we haven't even talked about, the business of a bank, for example, but we've already got a solid suite of laws that are going to apply. So there's HR compliance as well when it comes to labor relations laws. Now, let's say you're starting to do the business that you want to do, or you're an asset management company, or you're an insurance company, a pension fund, a bank, whatever the case may be. There are going to be unique and specific enabling laws and market conduct laws that apply as a result of the business that you are in. And I'm using the financial services sector as an example for illustrative purposes, but any sector, whether it's, gaming or whatever, are going to have things that need to be complied with in that regard. So you're going to have to get your license to operate in terms of that enabling law. If it's a banking law, if it's a bank, it'll be a banking act. If it's an insurance company, it's the Insurance Company Act or Pension Funds Act and so on. That says that there are specific requirements you need to meet to be able to be provided with the license to operate, both at the onset from a licensing perspective, but also on an ongoing basis. So as a compliance officer, you need to really understand the laws that apply to a specific type of business activity and make sure that that's also falling within your radar as a regulatory compliance officer. So now we've looked at the laws, and then there are other, pieces of laws and legislation that just apply as a result of operating a business activity. You've got your operational health and safety rules that, depending on the nature of your activities, you need to really look at, do we need fire extinguishers, first aid kits? What are we doing about our emissions into the environment? There are all sorts of environmental laws around anti-pollution. Depending on your business activities, especially if you're doing something that is really impactful in the environment, there's going to be another suite of laws that you need to comply with. Consumer protection. If you are doing business with individual consumers on a, day-to-day basis, there's some consumer protection laws that are going to be put in place, and data protection and cybersecurity to prevent, fraud and, malicious attacks on your systems that could cause harm or damage or loss of personal information. So this is all these examples that I'm giving you. It's just to show you that compliance looks at all of those laws, all of those requirements. You create your regulatory universe so that you have a full view of everything that applies to your organization, including AML and counter-terrorist financing, including sanctions, including anti-bribery and corruption, and all of that. And then you have that full suite. And that is what we're looking at when we're saying regulatory compliance. So if you are interested in a career in compliance, just make sure that you are open to the whole universe of laws, regulations that an organization needs to comply with, and just make sure that you have line of sight and understanding of all of those. You can work with, and I've done a video about specialists versus generalists. You can become a specialist in either of those areas, subject matter areas that I've mentioned, Or you can be a generalist and be well-informed and well-versed in all of those different areas so that you can advise your business on kind of like the full picture of regulations that apply to an organization. So just remember, whether they are just doing normal BAU activities or there's an expansive project to enter new markets, you kind of have to have a view into that full universe and an understanding of the risks that they pose to the business when you do your risk assessment. I've done another video about risk assessment, but that's what we're talking about when we say regulatory compliance. It is compliance with all the laws that are triggered by virtue of doing business and operating as a business, not just AML compliance. And the great news is, because there's this whole universe of laws, it means there's a whole universe of career opportunities outside of and including AML, depending on where your interest lies. So I hope this is really clarified that if you thought compliance specifically meant I must be doing anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing and specializing in that, nope. The universe is wide and broad and covers a lot of different subjects, as long as there is a law applied to it that says you or the organization must comply with it as part of its different operations and products and services and locations, then that falls within your world of regulatory compliance. Let me know in the comments if that's giving you some clarity or some hope even around the different career opportunities that you can have outside of AML, or transition to from AML if you've got an interest in having a broader career outside of just AML and focusing on other areas or regulatory compliance holistically. Thanks for watching this video, guys. I'll be back soon. I will be interacting in the comments though, as always. So I'll see you soon. Bye.